All right, welcome back, everyone. We are on day one, so we're just opening up to new possibilities, perspectives, and this idea that we can actually create a new identity. We can create a new personal reality for ourselves. We're not stuck. And if you can open to this, if you can open to this idea, then it can set you on such an incredible journey of transformation, of really understanding, who you truly are and what you're truly capable of. And it's so much more than, at least I feel from the story that I was told growing up. It's so much more than what we're led to believe. And I'm super, super excited about my guest right now, Chelsea Zerna. So she's an artist and entrepreneur, and I'll allow her to kind of talk a little bit more about who she is and what she does and all that good stuff. Um, Dear friend, dear sister, we met in Tulum, Mexico, and we've had some incredible conversations over the last couple of years. And Chelsea's going to be talking about emerging from the chrysalis into sovereignty. So, welcome, Chelsea. So grateful to have you here. Um, Tell us a little bit more about kind of who you are and what you got going on and all the good stuff.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for having me and for inviting me into this beautiful container. So I'm Chelsea Zerna, and I'm the founder of a company called Chrysalis. And so we help people kind of move from victimization into personal responsibility and sovereignty. And we help kind of people move through this journey of really stepping into their highest potential and liberation. And a lot of times, I like to think that people start their journey in the caterpillar stage of life and they move into this chrysalis, which is like this cocoon, and then they emerge into a butterfly. And so our company was built on this kind of symbolism and this metaphor of the caterpillar becoming a butterfly, because most people in the world go through this journey, whether they realize it or not. And we have broken it down into 7 different stages of the process of literally how you go from point zero all the way into the 7th stage, which is full expression, full liberation, and full transformation. Um, Now, most people that aren't doing this work, and obviously, if you're here right now, there's a good chance that you're doing this work. You're interested in peak performance and you want to optimize your human self and grow and be the best person that you can be. So you're already well on the way to this path. Most people in the world, especially people who aren't interested in this stuff, will stay in stage 1, maybe stage 2 for their entire life. So our mission as the chrysalis is to shepherd people inside of the chrysalis to go through the metamorphosis process, to emerge into a butterfly, and to become the best operating human that they could possibly be, especially when it comes to emotional mastery. So a lot of what we teach is emotional mastery, really helping people move through those heavier emotions and learn how to actually use their emotions to live the life of their dreams. So
Mm,
yeah.
so beautiful, so beautiful. I love this. So you mentioned that people often will stay in kind of stages one and two. Can you share a little more about those first two stages? Because I feel like that's kind of where we are on day one is really opening up to this.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely can. And the way that this is designed is everyone has a certain percentage of their selves in each. It's almost like an archetype. So we have certain percentages of our consciousness in each of these stages. Most people have a very large percentage of their consciousness in stage 1 and 2. And so the more that we can evolve from these places, the more that we literally start to become free. We start to become more and more and more of ourselves until we actually gain our wings and we can fly,
Mm,
metaphorically speaking. So yeah, in stage 1 of the journey and in stage 2 of the journey, and even in stage 3 of the journey, it's a lot of going and moving through the dark night of the soul. Not many people in this world go through childhood without any sort of challenges, any sort of trauma, because our parents, obviously they did the best that they could, but they're not perfect humans. And if you have perfect humans as your parents, you are very, very fortunate. But most parents in this world are not perfect. And we develop our relationship to love based on our relationship to our parents. And so there's all these little things that happen in our childhood. So in stage 1 of the journey, It's literally about moving through some of that heavier emotion, moving through the trauma, looking at our trauma responses, our flight responses, our, our fight, flight, freeze responses. And even if you're not aware, you don't have any of these, or you're not aware of them, it's really about learning how to be in the human body and being comfortable with expressing emotion and feeling emotion. So this is stage one. It's how to build safety in the body, how to create safety in the body, how to feel comfortable just being in your own skin, and how to kind of work through some of these heavier relationships, especially relationship to your inner child. So this is stage one of the journey. So a lot of people, you're in stage one of the journey if you constantly find yourself in avoidance, you constantly find yourself in like a lot of shame patterns where you're judging yourself or judging other people, and blame patterns, and you feel out of control in life. Like life is happening and you're just like getting tossed around and you really don't have any control, and you just feel like life is out to get you and against you. Most of the population lives like that, especially when something really intense happens. This just, people will go, most of their percentage of their consciousness will go straight into stage one. So stage two of the journey is kind of about self-love. So it's really about looking at our relationship to judgment again, and moving beyond this right, wrong, good, bad frame of reference, and switching that into self-acceptance and self-love. So it's taking this rejection and abandonment wound, and it's bringing it into self-love and self-acceptance. And through that journey, it's almost like a domino, where once the self-love starts to activate, all these other things start to align. Your intuition starts to refine. Now that you're feeling your emotions, you can actually start listening to your intuition. Oh, wow, it's not just all up here in the mind, this thing that we've programmed, probably not with the best things, right? All the conditioning, all the things that we learned as children, like our conditions around money, our conditions around our relationships, our conditions around our relationship to love. It actually now becomes, okay, what am I feeling right now? And so this kind of brings us into more of our body, and gets us a little more comfortable in our own skin, so that we're not trying to escape, and we're not trying to constantly leave, the whole time, and run at every single conflict that happens. And it's also stage two is the journey of expressing your truth to yourself and to other people. And this is huge, because when we talk about shame, truth tends to live right beyond the thing that we don't want to see. It's like right beyond the shadow. And shame likes to hide in the shadow. And anytime we have shame around something, there's a part of ourselves that we're judging ourselves. We're wrong for even thinking this or feeling this, so we don't want to say it out loud. So most people that are in stages 1 and 2 of the journey have a very hard time expressing the truth, saying the truth, even to their partners, even to their loved ones, even to the closest people around them. And it's not that it's lying, it's that there's literally a blinder into actually even acknowledging the truth. So it's really a journey about acceptance of yourself and the truth.
Wow. So how does one go from stage one to stage two? Like how would you
Yeah.
identify that, man, like something's got to change, and then open to
Mhm.
that idea, and then actually start to take the steps to change?
Yeah. Stage 1 and stage 2 are pretty connected, but the difference is this phrase, life is not happening to me, it's happening for me. And as soon as this starts to become a practice and self-love starts to kick in, then they move into stage 2. In stage 1, there's so much self-hatred, self-rejection, so much just the whole thing that yeah, usually it's about stepping into life is happening for me, not to me, and self-love. So
Mhm.
usually it's now I love myself, I love who I am, and the relationships around me, the people around me love me as well. It's like this mirror. Oh wow, I'm starting to make friends who actually like hanging out with each other. They're not always talking about each other all the time. They're not always judging everybody for doing certain things. They're not always, feeling like the world is out to get them or attack them. Okay, this is the shift. This is the
Mm,
shift into stage two.
mm. And there's often a, in my own journey, felt it, sometimes still do, this unworthiness, like,
Yeah.
who am I to be saying stuff, or to be, putting on an event, or who am I to really deserve love or
Mhm.
abundance or wealth, or, all the amazing things that this world has to offer.
Yeah.
Where do you think that comes from? Because I feel like so many of us have this underlying, if you were to
Mhm.
kind of boil everything right down, distill it down to one thing, it's self-worth.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're mostly like a masculine embodied person, it's not about like gender, but if you feel more masculine, generally the core wound of the masculine is self-worth. It's like a lack of self-worth, and the core wound of the feminine is lack of self-love or lack of love. And so this is kind of the journey everyone's going on, right? And so really what we're wanting to do. And stage three is really where self-worth comes in. It's like moving through these patterns of self-sabotage and really stepping into our worth for the first time and really owning who we are in the world. But yeah, a lot of this self-worth just really comes from childhood. Like, how did we receive love as a child? And also when we had accomplishments, how was that received or how was that handled? Like, for instance, if you only received love from your parents when you did a good job or you got an A or you had some sort of accomplishment, you could develop a certain relationship to self-worth, a certain relationship to accomplishment. And then same thing, like if your parents were never there and they were always absent, right? Maybe you had no parents. You have a different relationship to self-love and abandonment. Like, wow, the people around me always leave, all these stories that we can tell. Everybody has their own story with that. But yeah, self-love and self-worth are very intimately connected. And self-worth, like we're inherently worthy, but we forget that, of course, because throughout life we've been told that we're not worthy by certain people, or we've just experienced like, wow, I don't receive attention or love when I don't show up in a certain way. Therefore, I need to change myself or do certain things in order to get what I want. So it's this act of doing in order to receive instead of inherently feeling like I can just be me and be and receive love and be love. But obviously the relationship to doing and being is very, very intimately connected, right? So self-worth is doing and self-love is being, if you break it down.
Wow, wow, so good. Anything else you want to share in terms of the journey through the chrysalis and into sovereignty? That
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I'll share the most important piece.
yeah.
So once we step into stage two and we go through the journey of self-love, we get to the chrysalis finally. And the chrysalis is this purge of everything that is no longer aligned. We hit this moment and we call it like the leap of faith. It's like, oh my God, I'm taking a risk. I'm getting the divorce. I'm leaving this job. I'm moving to another country. I'm doing the thing that I always wanted to do because this is not it, whatever it is, right? There's something that's just not it. And so it's this leap of faith that we're taking where we're like, I don't know what's out there. I'm diving into the unknown. I'm going into this cocoon. I am wrapping myself in this thing and I'm going to melt into goo and I have no idea what's going to happen on the other side. And it's
Mm,
almost like you cannot not do it. You get to the point where you can't not do it. You start to feel this thing where you're like, I can't ignore this any longer because it's starting to
mm,
scream at me. And so when that starts to happen, you go into, you switch your environment, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. You get out of your current environment, if it's the people, the place, the things, all the different things, and you literally go through naturally this process of purging an old identity. And your question starts to become, who am I? Who
mm,
am I? Who am I when I'm not married to this person that's abusive? Who am I when I'm not doing this job that I hate? Who am I when I'm not, you know, living with my parents, whatever it is. And it's a journey of literally deconditioning our mind and dropping all the stories, dropping all the projections, dropping all the different things that are literally holding us back from doing what we actually want to do with our lives. It's like a permission slip to be like, wow, what if I actually just said yes to doing the things that I want to do? And
mm,
this is usually a journey into deep shadow work, because you're going to come up against all of your beliefs. And what happens when your beliefs start to change? You start to, your identity starts to shift. And when you don't know who you are anymore and your identity starts to shift, you could literally freak out, which a lot of people do. Like, they don't know who they are anymore. Well, I thought that I wanted this and now I don't want this. What am I doing with my life? And it's this midlife crisis moment. And it could happen at any age, literally. And this is what starts the journey. This is actually what actually starts the catalyst for the butterfly to actually start to emerge. And so after all this conditioning, then the butterfly starts to emerge. Then we come out of the shell, then we come out of hiding, then we're like, this is who I actually am. This is who I really am. Now I can start expressing in other ways. I'm connected to my feminine and my masculine. Maybe I want to, express myself with art. We connect to our creativity, we connect to different parts of ourselves. And then it's the journey of, okay, can I actually be seen being this person? Can I be seen being who now I was like this and now I'm like this. Now it's like, are they gonna judge me? Are people gonna not accept me? And so now there's a whole nother layer of the external world, and just accepting yourself even further for this new layer of self. And through this second wave of the journey, I'm not going to go into them, but there's 3 other stages of this next phase of the journey. And the main thing is about developing emotional sovereignty. Because at this stage in the journey, every single person that comes into your life is going to be a direct mirror. And now you're going to be aware, because you're who you are truly. You're going to start meeting people who are also themselves. And then you can get to start seeing, oh, wow, this is who I am. Because I'm not hiding anymore and I'm showing myself, this is actually who I am. Now I have some things to look at. Now there's some things to work on. Now, where am I not taking responsibility for my emotions? Where am I lashing out at others? Where am I like holding myself in out of fear of starting up conflicts because of all the stuff that's happened in the past? So this is literally a journey of reclaiming sovereignty, meaning bringing your locus of control inside and really recognizing, where am I taking responsibility for things that aren't mine, and where am I not taking responsibility for things that are mine, meaning things that I control and things that I can't control. Where does this reside? Right? It's not society telling you what to do anymore. It's not your parents. It's not, some sort of like job that's giving you steps or doing whatever. It's like you now determining what's best for you. And most people freak out in that moment. So it's like, how do I develop this internal locus of control and literally start to become emotionally sovereign? And this is how we become more and more and more and more powerful. This is how we start to expand our capacity for creation in the world. You really want to know peak performance in human optimization? If you master this, you literally can do anything in the world. This is the key to life. And this is what most people skip. They think, how can I become more powerful in the world? More money, more status, and more whatever, houses or all the things, more things. And it's actually not about that at all. It's literally like, how much responsibility am I taking, and how am I expanding my capacity to create based on that? And changes everything. This is the path to personal power and personal growth and transformation.
I love that. I love that. And I just really want to come back to the question that you asked is, who am I? It's such a perfect question for day one, of really opening to these new possibilities, perspectives, and your new identity. And so anybody watching, begin to ask yourself that question on a regular basis. Like, who am I? Not the thoughts of who you think you are, or who you've been told you should be, or how you fit into society or the world, but who are you really? And is everything that you think you know about yourself, is everything that you've kind of been told you should be, is that based on who you really want to be deep inside, or is that based on who you've been told you should be by everybody, and like all of the external people in your life? And if the answer is no, then continue to ask yourself that question, And, just like that truth will begin to bubble up to the surface, and you'll be able to actually start answering that question from within.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
all of that being said, I want to ask you just one more question. And this is something I'm asking everybody. Um, what does peak performance mean to you, Chelsea?
I love that. Yes. Yeah, I would say there was a very different answer as the caterpillar and the butterfly. So I'm going to answer from the second stage of the journey. And yeah, I really think that when you're operating as the highest version of yourself, you know exactly who you are, you know exactly why you're here on this planet, and you know your own truth. And there's not this seeking of, oh my God, what's out there? What is this all for? What am I doing here? It's this, when you're operating at peak performance, all of those questions go away because you know who you are, you know what your mission is in the world, you know what you're doing, and you're just so there that you're like, I trust. I so deeply trust everything that's happening and everything that's moving ahead of me that I don't need to constantly get into these things anymore. I can just operate here. I trust and I can surrender. And when I can fully trust and when I can fully surrender, I'm in my peak state. And the only way to fully trust yourself and to fully surrender into what's outside of yourself is in technically they at a point those two intersect and they're one and the same. Trusting yourself and surrendering to outside of yourself, it's so intimately connected, and once you hit that place, you are in peak performance. You are
Mm,
literally right there, and that comes through sovereignty, specifically emotional sovereignty.
so good. I love how, because I'm asking everyone this question, I love how everybody's got their own perspective on peak performance. So, and anybody who's watching again, what does peak performance mean to you? Because we can truly become a peak performer in every area of our lives. It doesn't just have to be with money or just with our health or just with relationships. We can develop that peak performance, but it first begins with opening up to the idea of possibility, to the idea that we are and can be so much more than what we've been told or what we think or what we're perceiving at this time. Um so with all of that said, Chelsea, thank you so much. Any kind of parting words of wisdom? And then I want you to share what you're up to in the world. You talked a little bit about Chrysalis and just how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I would say for anybody who feels like they're on this journey right now and they're moving through some of these different stages in this journey, stages one, stages two, stages three, maybe you're in the middle of a midlife crisis right now, or you're really just trying to answer that question, who am I and what am I actually here to do in the world? Doesn't matter if you have a job that's paying you like $1 million a year. If you're not happy, there's something there that you're really meant to do in this world. And so, yeah, I would just say, get in touch with me, get in touch with Lee. There's so many resources that you have here that you can use. And if you want to go deeper into this journey of literally going through the chrysalis and going through the metamorphosis process, we've designed a process that we've literally tested among like 200 people, and every single person has followed the exact same journey. So we've literally created a map for this process. So we're definitely here to help you in that. The program is actually called Metamorphosis, and we have 3 free events that we host online every year. We host retreats, and then obviously this flagship program is definitely where I would recommend going if you're on the journey and you're recognizing that this is something that you need. Just reach out, ask some questions, and our team can answer that for sure.
So amazing. How can people get a hold of you, Chelsea?
You can find me either on Instagram or our website. Instagram is kind of my primary social media. I also have a podcast called the Chrysalis Podcast. On Instagram, you can go to at Chelsea Zerna or at Chrysalis Space. And then you can just go to chrysalisspace.com.
Um, Chelsea, thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing your genius, your wisdom, your light. Such an honor for me to have you here. I'm super grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being here.